Hello and welcome. My name is Dennis Muley, General Superintendent for Andersen Construction. At Andersen, we're committed to the safety of each and every employee that comes to work on our projects. We want each of you to enjoy a productive work site and return home safely to your families every day. We're equally committed to the safety of the non-construction employees we often share a workspace with. Behind me is a local hospital that's seen construction activity nearly non-stop for over 3 decades. Over the years, Andersen's learned that working in or at existing hospital campuses is much different than working on any other type of project. In turn, healthcare construction requires a different and unique set of rules. For example, the Joint Commission on Accreditation of Healthcare Organizations, otherwise known as JCAHO, is the primary source of standards regarding patient safety and care. JCAHO provides standards on performance expectations for activities that affect the safety and quality of patient care. As is the case with the very project you're about to work on, the staff, visitors, and of course the patients are all relying on us to know about, to embrace, and to follow these standards to ensure a safe environment for their ongoing operation. This video outlines the various hospital policies that affect construction standards. These include interim life safety measures, infectious control measures, and fire safety standards. At the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's expected of you to help us be successful in protecting the hospital's patients, and you'll be asked to complete a questionnaire. All of the answers to the questions are discussed in this presentation. Because it's so critical to the health of this facility, we require that you score a perfect 100% before receiving a security badge and proceeding to work. If, after watching the video, you have questions about the material or want to discuss anything further, please don't hesitate to ask one of the Andersen employees. I'll see you again at the end of the video.
The policies that affect construction in a healthcare environment include ILSM, or Interim Life Safety Measures, infection control, and fire safety. We're required to follow these policies to maintain a safe healthcare environment. We'll now review each of these policies in detail. ILSM Key Points. The purpose of the Interim Life Safety Measures policy is to help identify and plan for life safety deficiencies resulting from construction and determine temporary measures needed to maintain an acceptable minimum standard. Examples of life safety deficiencies that develop during construction: interruption to fire alarm systems, shutdowns or interruptions of system utilities, blocking egress pathways, and penetrations in fire-rated walls. Prior to starting a project, a pre-job meeting is held to analyze the scope of the project and to determine what deficiencies, if any, need to be considered. This evaluation matrix outlines the interim life safety measures to be taken and is a planning and communication guide for staff and construction personnel. Good communication is critical in keeping the hospital safe, and one of the best ways to communicate is through signage. Each project has an information sign at or near the entrance with information about the project. This signage helps keep staff and visitors informed and includes contact information in the event a problem should arise. Many projects require the interruption of various utilities, and these must be properly coordinated to avoid unexpected service outages. If not planned and executed well, utility shutdowns can easily cause injury or death to patients. Some examples of systems that require formal utility shutdown approval include electrical, fire alarms, fire sprinklers, domestic water, heating or cooling water piping, air handlers, and sewer or waste piping. When you need to shut down or tap into a utility, a shutdown permit must be filled out and submitted to the physical plant, which will authorize and schedule the shutdown. Andersen Construction will coordinate the shutdown between the subcontractor and the physical plant. Another requirement of the utility shutdown process is lockout tagout. Lockout-tagout methods must be well planned so a facility engineer working in the area is aware of the shutdown. Systems that are temporarily shut down must be identified and labeled in the field. Re-energizing methods must be considered in the shutdown plan as well. There are two things to always remember about medical gas systems. Never turn off any medical gas zone valves. That's always done by a facilities engineer. And always identify locations of medical gas lines prior to any demolition activity. Access to emergency departments at hospitals must be maintained free and clear at all times. Any work activities that may impact access must be coordinated through Andersen Construction. Fire prevention is a critical aspect of interim life safety. Fire extinguishers must be placed in the construction area and be current with annual certification and monthly inspection. Fire extinguishers must be at a minimum 10-pound ABC commercial grade fire extinguisher. Access to fire department connections must be free and clear at all times. Along with fire extinguishers, fire sprinkler systems will remain operational in remodel areas whenever possible. Fire and smoke detection shall be installed on a temporary basis when the facility system has been bypassed, shut down, or removed. Placement of temporary smoke detectors shall be coordinated with the construction project manager. Hot work permits are required for any flame or spark-producing operations. When a hot work permit is needed, it shall be requested through Andersen Construction so that proper planning and coordination with the facility takes place. Before starting hot work, a survey of the area must be conducted and all combustible material moved for a radius of 35 feet. If removal of the combustible materials is not practical, then the material or objects shall be protected. In addition to hot work permits, fire watch must also be in place for any flame or spark-producing operations. Fire watch is to be by someone other than the tradesperson performing the hot work and must remain in place for a minimum of 30 minutes after all hot work is completed. When performing hot work, it is equally important to provide adequate methods for removal of smoke created in the construction process. This can be accomplished with smoke eaters or by direct venting to the outside. In either case, the smoke removal plan must be coordinated and approved by Andersen Construction prior to starting work. Hot work is not complete until the fire alarm system, if it was temporarily disabled, has been returned to normal operation. Sometimes common sense is the best protection against fires. At the end of each shift, or when not in use, flammable paint or other flammable materials, including oily rags, must be stored in a certified flammable storage cabinet or container. It is critical that housekeeping be maintained throughout the day in an occupied healthcare environment. In the event of an emergency, exitways, corridors, and stairwells all need to be kept clear. Never store any materials in a stairwell, underneath stairs, or in the area of rescue assistance. Also, never block open a fire-rated door or door that is equipped with an automatic closer. These must be allowed to freely close in case of fire. Shorts in an electrical extension cord can cause fires after hours. Always disconnect electrical cords from wall outlets at the end of each shift. Visually inspect all power tools and cords prior to each shift. When using house power, a GFCI must be in place. Within healthcare facilities, construction activities must be separated from occupants. If this cannot occur, then an interim life safety measure must be implemented. Although the construction of temporary barriers can vary, all barriers must be smoke-tight, dust-tight, extend from floor to ceiling or structures above, and be constructed of non-flammable materials. It is also critical that all floor penetrations or wall penetrations and openings required to complete rough-in work be sealed daily to prevent the spread of dust and smoke. This ductwork is properly sealed with fire caulking. Next, we will review infection control, which is known as the Environment of Care Policy. This establishes uniform procedures for assessing risks associated with demolition, construction, and renovation projects, and minimizes the impact of these activities on the patient care environment. So much attention is given to infection control because infections are a leading cause of death in hospitals. According to the American Society for Healthcare Engineers, there are over 4,000 deaths due to construction-related airborne infections per year, the equivalent of 4 commercial airliner crashes per month. Infection control is crucial. Key components of infection control include the Project Risk Assessment, ILSM daily checklists, infection control measures, housekeeping, and communication between contractor and staff. Step 1 of the risk assessment process is to analyze the nature of the project, its proximity to other areas of the hospital, and consider the various risks the project may pose to occupied areas. These risk assessment checklists must be posted at the job site so that all personnel are aware of ILSM and infection control requirements. Daily ILSM inspections are conducted by construction personnel at the end of each shift. All construction personnel should be familiar with these inspection items and report potential problems to a foreman or Andersen representative. These daily checklists are filed or posted in the project workspace and can be referenced by any employee at any time. It is critical that all personnel ensure their work practices comply with these requirements. One key element of containing dust generated by our work sites is to keep the area negative to the surrounding occupied corridors or spaces. Keeping the area negative means that the areas surrounding the workspace are pressurized and air is always flowing into the construction area, never out of it. This keeps dust contained and helps to eliminate the migration of dust through open doorways. The primary means of maintaining negative pressure inside remodel areas is through the use and maintenance of HEPA-filtered negative air machines. When negative air machines are used, the following criteria must be met. HEPA-filtered negative air machines must be vented directly outside or exhausted as approved by the facility construction manager, be properly maintained during work, have pre-filters and internal filters changed as needed, be left operating 24 hours a day throughout the duration of the project, and have intake and exhaust ports wrapped with visqueen and taped closed when moved outside of the work area. Again, the best strategy for maintaining negative pressure for any given remodel situation will be planned and approved by the hospital construction manager. Usually, the plan includes temporary modifications to the existing HVAC distribution system. Common adjustments include closing or dampening shut the existing supply duct serving the remodel area and sealing all supply grills with plastic. On the return air system, grills are always filtered. In some cases, the return ductwork is dampered close to eliminate the potential of contamination through the system. Negative pressure solutions must be maintained throughout the project to continue to be effective. This includes changing the pre-filters as necessary, as well as the filters used on overhead return grills. And the space itself must be monitored on a daily basis to ensure the space is indeed negative to its surrounding areas. One way we measure the pressure relationship is using this simple ping-pong ball test. When the space is properly pressurized, the ball will stick to the remodel side of the tube. If you see the ball on the wrong side, alert an Andersen representative immediately. Let's talk about interior construction boundaries and the types of openings that could allow dust to migrate into occupied areas. All unused doors along the construction boundary shall be taped and sealed. Wall openings between the construction space and adjacent areas shall be sealed to prevent passage of dust during construction activities. For example, when existing walls do not extend to structure, the space above the ceiling must be sealed. Cord holes and floor slabs must be protected to prevent falling dust or debris or injury to workers and must be sealed with a fire-rated assembly. Also important to infection control practices, HVAC systems play a critical role in controlling the spread of dust from construction. New HVAC equipment and ductwork must be protected from dust infiltration during construction as well. This requirement is typically satisfied by covering new ductwork with visqueen before it is installed and sealing open-ended sections until the next fitting or section is installed. Sticky mats are another very important item used to prevent the spread of dust. Sticky mats are provided by Andersen Construction, but we need your help to keep them fresh throughout the day. Sticky mats are placed at entrances and exits to occupied areas. It is crucial that all personnel in wheeled carts cross the sticky mats prior to exiting. Sticky mats can become trip hazards if not installed properly. Again, the mats must be changed regularly or they become useless. Here's an example of sticky mats not being maintained properly. And here's a good example of properly installed mats being maintained on a regular basis. Obviously, we have to get materials and debris in and out of the construction areas. When transporting materials, carts must be tightly sealed and covered with a damp, clean sheet. Tool carts must also be covered with a clean, damp sheet. This keeps any dust contained until the carts can be uncovered in a safe area. Work outside construction boundaries, including removal of ceiling tiles in occupied areas, must be coordinated with Andersen and the construction manager to identify needs for partitions, maintaining negative pressure, and other infection control measures. Infection control carts like this one allow for work in ceilings with environmental control. We've talked a lot about protecting patients from dust, but protecting ourselves from job hazards and the biological hazards inherent at a hospital are equally important. Construction workers are encouraged to wear gloves, face shields, or masks, and are encouraged to wash their hands and face with soap and water throughout the day. The last topic to discuss is the hospital's Code Red policy. The purpose of the Code Red fire alarm response policy is to provide personnel working or volunteering within the hospital with information on the action or actions to take in response to fires in and outside of their work areas. Fire presents a unique risk in hospitals and patients cannot always evacuate. If at any time a contractor observes a fire or hears a Code Red announced, they should use RACE to respond. R. Rescue anyone in immediate danger. A. Alarm. Pull firebox and call for help. C. Confine, close doors, windows, and chutes. E. Extinguish if small fire, evacuate if necessary. Hospitals use many other overhead paging codes in addition to Code Red to communicate various emergency situations. All construction personnel need to be familiar with these codes and know how to respond accordingly. When a code is announced, listen to the type and location. In most cases, there will be no action necessary by contractors, but it is important to be alert as hospital response teams may need immediate access in or near your work area. You may simply need to get out of the way or remain clear from the emergency area. If there is an emergency, it is critical that you know the primary and secondary evacuation routes and meeting places. In this situation, remain on site at the designated meeting place until a head count has been conducted and an all clear has been announced. Evacuation routes and meeting places are determined at the initiation of each project and reviewed in weekly site safety meetings. In general, the hospital is a non-smoking facility. However, there are designated smoking areas outside. Smoking in areas that are not designated for smoking will result in the removal of that employee from this site. The Andersen staff can provide a site map identifying the approved smoking areas. We need everyone's help to keep this hospital a safe place for patients to heal. From electricians to framers, delivery drivers, and cabinet builders, everyone working on this site is responsible for the safety of the campus, its staff, visitors, and of course, the patients. So pay close attention to what's around you, be creative in finding ways to protect occupied areas, communicate health and safety concerns, and remember, you're in a hospital. It will take the efforts of all to successfully complete work in the hospital safely. We need to work together to follow the policies outlined here.
Now that you've watched the video, please proceed with the written test provided by Andersen's on-site staff. Take your time and feel free to ask questions of the Andersen staff. We encourage discussion as needed to ensure you're comfortable with the requirements. Thanks for your attention during the video, and we're glad you're here to help us continue to be the builder of choice. Thank you.